Before we dive into this love story, please hit the subscribe button to help this channel grow. The knife flashed under the fluorescent lights of the diner, and Maya didn't think. She just moved. Her body slammed into the elderly Korean woman wearing the pearl necklace, sending them both crashing against the booth as the blade whistled past where the woman's throat had been a second before. The attacker, wild-eyed and reeking of desperation, stumbled forward, and Maya felt the searing pain bloom across her forearm as the knife found flesh anyway. "Run!" Maya gasped to the woman beneath her, blood already soaking through her white sleeve and dripping onto the cracked vinyl seat. But the older woman wasn't looking at Maya. She was staring past her shoulder with an expression that made Maya's survival instincts scream. The temperature in the diner seemed to drop 20 degrees. Maya turned her head and saw him. Tall, impossibly broad-shouldered, dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her entire year's rent. His face was beautiful in that devastating way that made you forget to breathe. All sharp angles and cold eyes that held absolutely no mercy. Behind him, 4 men in identical dark suits had already surrounded the attacker, who was now whimpering and trying to crawl backward across the black and white checkered floor. "Iyama," the man said, his voice soft but carrying an edge that could cut diamond. He wasn't looking at the attacker. He was looking at the woman Maya had just saved, and there was something raw in his expression that didn't match the ice in his bearing. "I'm fine, Minho," the older woman said, struggling to sit up. "This young woman, she saved me. She's hurt." That's when those dark eyes finally landed on Maya, and she felt pinned like a butterfly to a board. He looked at her bleeding arm, at her shocked face, at the ketchup stain on her apron from her shift that had just turned into the most insane moment of her 24 years of life, and something shifted in his expression. "Get her to Dr. Yoon," he said quietly. "Now." "I'm fine," Maya said, trying to stand, trying to process what was happening. "I just need a first aid kit. I have to finish my shift." "Your shift is over," Minho said, and there was no arguing with that tone. 2 of his men were already moving toward her. "You saved my mother's life. That creates a debt, and I always pay my debts." Before Maya could protest, before she could explain that she was just a waitress who had acted on instinct and didn't want anything from anyone, especially not from people who moved through the world like they owned it, the older woman grabbed her hand. Her grip was surprisingly strong. "Come with us," she said gently. "Please, let us take care of this. I'm Mrs. Park and you're bleeding quite a lot, dear." Maya looked down. Mrs. Park was right. Her arm looked worse than she'd thought. The adrenaline was wearing off and the pain was starting to make her vision swim. She let them guide her out of the diner, past the still whimpering attacker who was now being held face down by one of the suited men with what looked like practiced efficiency. Past her manager, who was staring with his mouth open. Past the other customers who had frozen in their booths like someone had hit pause on their lives. The car waiting outside was a black Mercedes that gleamed as if it had never seen a particle of dust. Maya had never been in a car like this. She'd barely been in any car that wasn't held together with duct tape and prayer. Mrs. Park slid in beside her, still holding her hand, and Minho took the seat across from them, his eyes never leaving Maya's face. "What's your name?" Mrs. Park asked. Maya Johnson." Her voice sounded distant to her own ears. "Maya," Mrs. Park repeated, like she was tasting the word. "You have family, Maya? Someone we should call?" Maya shook her head. "Just me. It's just me." Something flickered in Minho's expression. "You work at the diner full-time?" "2 jobs," Maya said, and she didn't know why she was telling these strangers her life story. Maybe it was a shock. Maybe it was blood loss. "Diner during the day, cleaning offices at night. It's fine, I'm fine. I really don't need..." "You work 2 jobs and you still threw yourself in front of a knife for a stranger," Minho interrupted, and there was something almost angry in his tone. Do you have any sense of self-preservation? Do you? Maya shot back before she could stop herself. You look like the kind of person people want to stab. The car went silent. Absolutely, utterly silent. Mrs. Park's eyes went wide and the driver's shoulders tensed, and Maya realized she had just said something incredibly stupid to someone who was clearly very dangerous. But then Minho laughed. It was a short, sharp sound, as he'd surprised himself. She's right, he said to his mother. I do. Minho runs a difficult business, Mrs. Park said carefully. He makes difficult choices, and yes, some people would like to hurt him by hurting me. The pieces clicked together in Maya's mind with sickening clarity. Hi, you're Korean Mafia, she said flatly. That's why you have the suits and the scary efficiency and the expensive car. Oh my God, I saved a mob boss's mother. We prefer to think of it as an import-export business with aggressive loss prevention strategies, Minho said dryly. But yes, my name is Park Minho, and I run the largest Korean syndicate on the West Coast. That man who tried to kill my mother, he was sent by a rival organization. They've been trying to start a war for 6 months. Why are you telling me this? Maya asked, her head spinning. Shouldn't you, make me sign an NDA or something? Or make me disappear? Would you like that? Minho asked, and there was something almost amused in his voice. To disappear? No, Maya said immediately. I have rent due on Tuesday, and Mrs. Chen will evict me if I'm late again. Mrs. Park squeezed her hand. You won't have to worry about rent anymore, dear. We're going to take care of you. I don't need charity, Maya said, even as black spots started dancing at the edges of her vision. I just need a Band-Aid and maybe some gauze. She didn't remember passing out, but she must have, because the next thing she knew, she was waking up in a bed that felt like sleeping on a cloud. The room around her was enormous, all cream-colored walls and tasteful art and windows that looked out over the city like they were in a penthouse. Her arm was bandaged professionally, the dull ache of pain medication making everything feel soft around the edges. Mrs. Park was sitting in a chair beside the bed, reading a book. She looked up when Maya stirred and smiled. You're awake. Dr. Yoon said you'd be fine. 15 stitches, but no permanent damage. You were very lucky. Where am I? Maya asked. Our home, Mrs. Park said simply. It was late and you needed rest. I hope you don't mind that we brought you here. Maya sat up slowly, looking around the room again. This is someone's home? Minho's home, Mrs. Park corrected. I have my own place, but I was visiting when you saved my life. The reality of it crashed over Maya again. She had actually done that. She had actually thrown herself in front of a knife for a stranger. Her hands started to shake. Mrs. Park was there immediately, taking her hands in both of hers. Breathe, she said gently. Just breathe, Maya. You're safe now. You did something incredibly brave, and you're safe. That man wanted to kill you, Maya whispered. Yes, Mrs. Park said, not sugarcoating it. He did, and he would have succeeded if not for you. Do you understand what that means? You gave me my life back. You gave my son his mother back. That's not a small thing. Anyone would have done it, Maya said. No, Mrs. Park said firmly. They wouldn't have. There were 6 other people in that diner. You were the only one who moved. That says something about who you are, Maya Johnson. If you're invested in Maya's story, please hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us what you think will happen next. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you more stories like this one. The door opened and Minho walked in, somehow looking even more intimidating in casual clothes. Dark jeans and a black t-shirt that did nothing to hide the lean muscle underneath. He carried a tray with food that smelled incredible. "You need to eat," he said, setting the tray on the bedside table. "Dr. Yoon said you were malnourished. When was the last time you had a real meal?" Maya bristled. "I eat." "Ramen and coffee don't count," Minho said, sitting in the chair on the other side of the bed. "My men went to your apartment. You have nothing in your refrigerator except condiment packets and tap water." "You went to my apartment?" Maya's voice rose. "You can't. That's breaking and entering." "The landlord let us in," Minho said calmly, "after we paid your rent. For the next year." Maya stared at him. "You what?" "We also paid off your student loans," Mrs. Park added, "and your medical bills. And we've set up an account with enough money to cover your living expenses for the foreseeable future. Think of it as a thank you." "That's not a thank you," Maya said, her voice shaking. That's too much. Way too much. I can't accept that. I don't even know you people." "You saved my mother's life," Minho said, and there was steel in his voice now. "In my world, in my culture, that creates a debt that can never fully be repaid. But I'm going to try. You're going to let me try. And if I say no, then I'm going to follow you around and pay for things anyway," Minho said. "Would you prefer that? Because I will do it. I'll pay your rent, your bills, buy your groceries, and generally make a nuisance of myself until you accept that this is happening." Maya looked between him and his mother, saw the identical stubborn set to their jaws, and realized she was dealing with people who were used to getting their way. "This is insane," she muttered. "This whole situation is insane." "Welcome to my life," Minho said, and there was that hint of dark humor again. "Eat. We'll talk about the rest later." The food was incredible. Korean dishes that Maya had never tried before, each one more delicious than the last. She tried to eat slowly, tried to maintain some dignity, but she was hungrier than she'd realized, and Mrs. Park kept encouraging her to have more, to try this, to taste that, until Maya had eaten more in one sitting than she usually did in 2 days. "My mother likes you," Minho observed, watching his mother fuss over Maya with something like wonder in his eyes. "She doesn't like most people." "Most people are tiresome," Mrs. Park said. "Maya is interesting. She's brave and kind, and she doesn't care about money or power. Do you know how rare that is in our world?" "I'm not in your world," Maya said quietly. "I'm just a waitress who did something stupid." "No," Minho said, and his voice had gone soft and intense. "You're a woman who did something extraordinary. And whether you like it or not, you're in our world now. That man who tried to kill my mother, his associates are going to want revenge. They're going to find out who interfered. They're going to come looking for you." The food turned to ash in Maya's mouth. "What?" "You're not safe anymore," Minho continued, and he sounded almost sorry. "The moment you stepped in front of that knife, you painted a target on your back. They'll come after you to hurt me, to send a message. I can't let that happen." "So what are you saying?" Maya asked, even though part of her already knew. "I'm saying you need protection," Minho said. 24/7, professional security. I'm saying you need to stay somewhere secure until we've dealt with the threat. I'm saying your old life, the one where you were invisible and safe in your anonymity, that's over." Maya set down her chopsticks with shaking hands. "You're saying I saved your mother, and it's going to get me killed." "No," Minho said fiercely, leaning forward. "I'm saying you saved my mother, and I'm going to make damn sure you live to see 100. But you have to let me help you. You have to trust me." "I don't know you," Maya said. "Why would I trust you?" "Because I keep my promises," Minho said. "Always. And I promise you, Maya Johnson, that nothing and no one is going to hurt you. Not while I'm alive." There was something in his eyes, some intensity that made Maya's breath catch. This wasn't just about debt or honor or whatever code these people lived by. This was something else, something she didn't have a name for yet. "Okay," Maya said finally. "Okay. What do I have to do?" What she had to do, apparently, was stay in Minho's penthouse under armed guard while he handled the situation with his rivals. What Maya discovered over the next 3 days was that living in close quarters with Park Minho was its own form of torture. He was there every morning when she woke up, already dressed in his suits, drinking coffee, and reading reports that probably detailed very illegal activities. He was there every evening, shedding his jacket and rolling up his sleeves to have dinner with her and his mother, who visited daily and seemed determined to adopt Maya as a surrogate daughter. He was attentive without being overbearing, protective without being controlling, and he had this way of looking at Maya like she was something precious and rare instead of a broke waitress who'd gotten in over her head. "Tell me about yourself," he said one night after his mother had left and they were sitting in his living room with its floor-to-ceiling windows showing the city sparkling below. "I know the basics from the background check." "You ran a background check on me?" Maya interrupted. "Of course I did," Minho said without apology. "You're living in my home. But a background check doesn't tell me who you are. It tells me you grew up in foster care, worked your way through community college, and that you've never been in trouble with the law. It doesn't tell me what you dream about, what you want from life." Maya tucked her legs underneath her on the expensive leather couch. "I dream about not being tired," she said honestly. "About having enough money that I'm not counting pennies at the grocery store. About maybe going back to school someday, getting a degree in something that matters. Having a life that's more than just survival." "What would you study?" Minho asked, and he sounded genuinely interested. "Social work, maybe," Maya said. "Or teaching. Something where I could help kids like me. Kids who don't have anyone." Minho was quiet for a long moment. "My father died when I was 12, he said finally. "He was killed by a rival syndicate. I watched it happen. I couldn't stop it, and I swore that day that I would never be powerless again. That I would build something so strong, so unshakable, that no one could ever take my family from me." "Is that why you do this?" Maya asked. "The crime, the violence, all of it?" "I do this because it's the world I was born into," Minho said. "But I stay in it because I'm good at it. Because I can protect the people I love. Because in my world, strength is the only currency that matters." He looked at her. "You have that strength, Maya. You just don't realize it yet." "I'm not strong," Maya said. "I was scared out of my mind when I jumped in front of your mother." "Courage isn't the absence of fear," Minho said. "It's acting despite it. You felt the fear and you moved anyway. That's the definition of strength." Maya didn't know what to say to that. She looked out at the city lights and wondered how her life had changed so completely in just a few days. "The threat's been neutralized," Minho said quietly. "My men found the people who sent the assassin. They've been dealt with. You're safe now." "So I can go home?" Maya asked and was surprised to find she didn't feel relief at the thought. She felt something closer to disappointment. "You can do whatever you want," Minho said, "but I'd like you to stay." Maya's heart did something complicated in her chest. "Why?" "Because my mother adores you," Minho said. "Because you make this place feel less like a fortress and more like a home. Because when I look at you, I don't see someone who wants something from me. I just saw Maya, and I haven't felt that in a very long time." "Minho," Maya said softly. He stood up abruptly, as he'd said too much. "You should get some rest. We can talk more in the morning." But Maya stood up too, crossed the space between them before she could second-guess herself. She looked up at him, at this dangerous, complicated man who had somehow become important to her in less than a week, and made a choice. "What if I don't want to wait until morning?" she asked. Minho's eyes darkened. "Maya, you should know." I'm not a good man. I've done things that would horrify you. I live in a world of violence and shadows. You deserve better than that. Better than me? Shouldn't I get to decide what I deserve? Maya asked. Don't forget to hit that like button if you're enjoying this story, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what happens next. Drop a comment and let me know. Should Maya take this leap? You should decide with all the information, Minho said roughly. I'm offering you a choice, Maya. I can set you up with a new apartment, a legitimate job, and money in the bank. You can walk away from this, from me, and build the normal life you deserve. Or, he stopped. Or, Maya prompted. Or you can stay, Minho said. Stay here, with me. Let me take care of you. Let me show you what your life could be like. But you need to understand what you'd be signing up for. My world is dangerous. There will always be threats, always be people trying to use you to get to me. And He reached out, cupped her face in his hand with surprising gentleness. I am not an easy man to love. Who said anything about love? Maya asked, but her voice was breathless. I did, Minho said simply. Because I'm halfway there already, and you've been here less than a week. Imagine what it will be like in a month. A year. I don't do anything by halves, Maya. If you stay, I will want all of you. And I will give you all of me in return. The good and the bad and the ugly. Maya felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff. Behind her was the life she knew. Hard, exhausting, lonely, but safe. Familiar. In front of her was the unknown. This man and his world of danger and luxury and possibility. She thought about the foster homes, the years of scraping by, the bone-deep exhaustion of working herself to death just to survive. She thought about how Minho looked at her like she mattered, like she was someone worth protecting. She thought about Mrs. Park's kindness, the way this strange family had welcomed her without question. She thought about how, for the first time in her life, she didn't feel alone. I want to stay, Maya said. I want to try. Minho closed his eyes briefly, like she'd given him something sacred. When he opened them again, there was heat there that made her knees weak. You're sure? No, Maya said honestly. I'm terrified, but I'm staying anyway. There she is, Minho murmured. My brave girl. When he kissed her, it felt like coming home. The next few weeks were a crash course in Park Minho's world. Maya met his inner circle, men with hard eyes and harder reputations, who nonetheless treated her with careful respect once they understood she was under Minho's protection. She learned to navigate the complex web of alliances and rivalries that made up the Korean underworld. She discovered that Minho's import-export business actually did import and export legal goods alongside the illegal ones, that he employed hundreds of people in legitimate businesses, and that his empire was more complicated than she'd imagined. She also discovered that Minho was as good as his word. He was attentive and protective and surprisingly tender when they were alone. He listened when she talked about her dreams and encouraged her when she mentioned going back to school. He bought her books and asked her opinions and treated her like an equal, even though she knew nothing about his world. Mrs. Park became a constant presence, teaching Maya to cook Korean food, sharing stories about Minho as a child, treating her with a maternal affection that made Maya's throat tight with emotions she couldn't name. He's different from you, Mrs. Park said one afternoon while they were making kimchi together in Minho's massive kitchen. Softer, more like the boy I remember before his father died. I don't want to change him, Maya said. You're not changing him, Mrs. Park said. You're reminding him who he is beneath all the armor. That's a gift, Maya. But Maya was learning that gifts came with prices in this world. 3 months after she'd saved Mrs. Park's life, the bill came due. She was in Minho's office, curled up on the leather couch while he worked at his desk, when one of his men burst in without knocking. The look on his face made Maya's blood run cold. We have a problem, the man said in rapid Korean. Maya had been learning the language, but he was speaking too fast for her to follow all of it. She caught enough, though. Enough to understand that someone had been taken. Someone important. Minho's face went absolutely blank, which was somehow more terrifying than anger. When? 20 minutes ago. They left this. The man held out a phone showing a video. Minho took it, watched for 5 seconds, and then very carefully set it on his desk. Minho? Maya asked, standing up. What's wrong? They have Ji-hoon, Minho said flatly. Ji-hoon was his cousin, his second in command, the man who'd been teaching Maya self-defense. The Takeda Syndicate. They want to trade him for you. The world tilted. What? They know you matter to me, Minho said, and there was murder in his voice. They've been watching. They think you're my weakness. They want me to bring you to them in exchange for Ji-hoon's life. Then we go, Maya said immediately. We make the trade. No, Minho said. Minho, they'll kill him. I said no. Minho's voice cracked like a whip, making her flinch. He saw it, took a breath, and forced himself to calm down. I will get Ji-hoon back, but I am not trading your life for his. Not now, not ever. He's your family, Maya said. He's your cousin. You can't just leave him. And you're mine, Minho said fiercely, crossing to her, taking her face in his hands. You're mine, Maya. Do you understand? I would burn this entire city to the ground before I let them have you. So, what do we do? Maya asked, tears streaming down her face. Minho's smile was cold and terrible. We remind them why people are afraid of me. What followed was organized chaos. Minho's men mobilized like a military operation, gathering weapons and intel, planning an assault on the Takeda stronghold. Maya watched it happen with growing dread, understanding now what Minho had meant about his world being dangerous. I want to come with you, she said as Minho strapped on a shoulder holster with frightening efficiency. Absolutely not, he said. He's my friend too, Maya insisted. You should stay here where it's safe, Minho interrupted. I have 20 men with me. I don't need you in the line of fire. But you need to know I'm here, safe, so you can focus on getting Ji-hoon back, Maya said, understanding suddenly. I'll stay, but Minho, bring him home. Bring yourself home. Minho kissed her hard and desperately. Always, he promised. I always come home. The waiting was agony. Mrs. Park arrived and sat with Maya, the two of them holding hands and not speaking, both understanding that words were useless right now. Hours crawled by. Maya thought about Ji-hoon's easy smile, the way he'd patiently taught her how to throw a punch, how he'd told her that Minho seemed happier than he'd been in years. When her phone finally rang with Minho's number, Maya nearly dropped it in her haste to answer. We have him, Minho said, and his voice was rough with exhaustion. He's alive. Hurt, but alive. We're bringing him home. Maya sobbed with relief. And you? Are you okay? Nothing I won't recover from, Minho said. But Maya, we need to talk when I get back. About us. About your safety. That couldn't be good. Maya ended the call and looked at Mrs. Park, who had gone very still. He's going to try to push you away, Mrs. Park said quietly. He's going to convince himself that you're safer without him, that this was too close. You need to be ready to fight for him, Maya, because he won't fight for himself. He'll sacrifice his own happiness if he thinks it will keep you safe. When Minho walked through the door 3 hours later, blood on his shirt and exhaustion written in every line of his body, Maya was ready. She watched him check on Ji-hoon, who was being tended by Dr. Yoon, watched him give orders to his men, watched him hold himself together through sheer force of will. Only when everyone else had left did he finally let himself show the cracks. I almost lost him, he said, sinking onto the couch like his strings had been cut. Because of me. Because they wanted to hurt me. and they knew the way to do it was through you. But they didn't, Maya said, sitting beside him. Jihoon's alive. I'm safe. You won. You're okay now. I've got you. You won. This time, Minho said. What about next time? What about when they decide that taking you is easier than taking one of my men? What about when they realize that you're not just important to me? You're everything? Maya took his face in her hands, made him look at her. Then we deal with it. Together. You don't get to make this decision for me, Minho. I chose this. I chose you. And I'm not going anywhere just because it got scary. It will always be scary, Minho said. This is my life, Maya. Violence and danger and loyalty and family and love, Maya interrupted. I see that too. I see how your men would die for you. I see how you protect the people in your territory. I see how you take care of your mother, how you brought Jihoon home no matter the cost. That's who you are, and I'm choosing that person. All of that person. You should run, Minho said, but his hands were already pulling her closer. You should be smart and run as far away from me as possible. Probably, Maya agreed. But I've never been smart about self-preservation. Remember? I jumped in front of a knife for a stranger. What makes you think I won't jump in front of a bullet for the man I love? Minho froze. What did you say? I love you, Maya said simply. I know it's fast and crazy and probably really stupid, but I love you. And I'm not leaving. You're going to have to accept that. For a long moment, Minho just stared at her. Then he laughed, the sound broken and relieved. You're insane, he said. You're absolutely insane. And I love you so much it terrifies me. Good, Maya said. We can be terrified together. When he kissed her this time, it tasted like promises and forever. 6 months later, Maya stood in Minho's living room wearing a simple white dress while Mrs. Park fussed over her hair, and Jihoon, fully recovered and back to his usual cheerful self, tried to convince Minho to wear a traditional hanbok instead of his suit. It's a wedding, not a board meeting, Jihoon argued. It's my wedding, Minho countered. I'll wear what I want. Boys, Mrs. Park said sharply, and they both fell silent immediately. She turned to Maya with a smile. You look beautiful, dear. Are you ready? Maya thought about the girl she'd been 6 months ago, exhausted, lonely, barely surviving. She thought about the moment she'd jumped in front of that knife and changed the course of her entire life. She thought about all the ways she'd grown, the family she'd found, the love that had surprised her when she'd stopped looking for it. I'm ready, Maya said. It wasn't a traditional wedding. There were no churches or priests, just a private ceremony in Minho's penthouse with his inner circle and Mrs. Park as witnesses. But when Minho took her hands and promised to love her, to protect her, to stand beside her for whatever life threw at them, Maya knew it was more real than any ceremony could be. I love you, Minho said, slipping a ring onto her finger, a simple platinum band that had somehow cost a fortune. My brave, insane, beautiful girl, thank you for saving my mother. Thank you for saving me. I love you too, Maya said. My dangerous, complicated, wonderful man, thank you for showing me what it means to be chosen. When they kissed, the men cheered, and Mrs. Park cried happy tears, and Maya felt like the luckiest woman in the world. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories, and comment below about what this story meant to you. Your engagement helps us bring more content like this, and we love hearing from you. Thank you for being part of our community. Later, when the celebration had wound down and they were alone in their bedroom, Minho pulled Maya close and said, You know this life will never be completely safe. I know, Maya said. There will always be threats, always danger. I know. And I will spend every day of my life making sure you never regret choosing me. Maya smiled up at him. I know that too. She'd jumped in front of a knife to save a stranger, and somehow ended up saving herself. She'd found a family, Sebatueda fotof, purpose, a love that consumed her. The waitress who'd been invisible to the world had become the center of someone's universe, and she'd never been happier in her life.